Hello, Simon.
Hello, Bruce. How are you today?
I'm feeling fabulous, thank you very much. How are you?
Not too shabby, thank you.
Very good, very good. Hello, everyone.
Yes, hello, people. Hello, everyone at home, or in your car, or at work, or walking your dog, or wherever.
Wherever. Shall we tell people quickly what this is, where we are, why we're doing this, and all that stuff?
I mean, it would help me to remember as well. Yeah. So who are we?
You're Simon Wells, right?
Yes, that's me, and you're Bruce Fielding?
Close. That'll do.
Good. We'll go with that then.
This is Factoraly, which you know, because you've clicked on the link.
Yep.
What is Factoraly, Simon?
Factoraly is a wondrous place full of useful knowledge and entertainment.
It is, isn't it?
Otherwise, it's a weekly podcast with two nerds chatting about random stuff.
What do we do as a day job?
We are two nerds who chat about random stuff.
Yeah, true. I mean, I guess that's what we do for a living as well.
It's kind of close, isn't it? Yeah. We are both professional voiceover artists. We read things and we say things. We do advertising campaigns. We read audiobooks. We do... Bruce has a wonderful line in technical manuals.
That's true, yes.
And then when we're not doing that, we come along here, we have I like to think of this as a virtual chat down the pub kind of scenario.
Yeah.
We're two blokes who go, have you ever wondered how this thing works? Or did you know, blah, 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 blah.
Two blokes who monopolise the conversation and you can't get a word in edgeways. Yes.
But you're doing that voluntarily by listening to us. So more fool you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So today's podcast, Simon, what are we going to talk about today?
Today we are going to be talking about balloons.
Balloons, you say? Do you like balloons?
I like a balloon. I'm rather partial. I'm not a globophobe.
Ooh, what's a globophobe?
A brand new word that I discovered. Globophobia is a fear of balloons.
Ah.
So, yes, apparently there are a reasonable number of people who suffer from globophobia who
Do you know
are
why
scared
that is?
I believe it's the uncertainty of whether or not it's about to pop.
Yes, and when it does pop, it's the noise.
It's the noise, the sudden noise, yes.
The breaking the sound barrier.
Oh.
It's like the crack of a whip.
Right, okay, yes.
So the crack of a whip is basically the end of the tip of the whip breaking the sound barrier. And similarly, when the air escapes from a balloon once it's been popped, the air is going faster than sound.
Oh, I see.
That's why it makes a pop noise, because it's actually making the noise of breaking the sound barrier.
Whereas an underinflated balloon, when you pop it, it doesn't so much pop as it just exhales.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I mean, the thing that people are often scared of with balloons, which we'll probably come on to later, is balloon animals. Or the people who make and design balloon animals. It's probably more to the point rather than the actual animals themselves.
Sure.
And that squeaky noise.
Yeah, I'm not a major fan of the squeaky noise, but I'm okay enough with it that I can hold a balloon and make that noise in order to irritate people who are.
So, when were balloons first a thing, Simon?
It depends who you ask. I spent way too much of a proportion of my research time trying to answer this very question, and I couldn't find a definitive answer. It really annoyed me. Most of the things we research seem to go back to sort of 3000 BC in China,
yes,
or the ancient Egyptians.
Yes.
Balloons don't.
Oh.
I found one single source on the whole of the internet that said there was a Roman engineer called Frontinius who once had a dream in which the god Vulcan showed him a picture of a large cotton bag inflated with air by a fire hanging underneath the cloth.
Yeah.
And he woke up and he went and built it, and he created this cloth bag, and he put a basket underneath, and he put a little bronze dish in there with a fire, and he created the first hot air balloon.
Oh, right.
I found that written in one single website and nowhere else.
Okay.
And therefore I can't quite decide whether it's true or not, because I can't find any other evidence for it.
I found that the Aztecs had balloons.
Really? Go on.
They used the intestines of animals.
Okay, yes.
It was like basically blowing up a bladder.
Great. For what purpose?
I have no idea.
Just for funsies?
Hitting people over the head, attach it to a stick and hit people. I don't know. I have no idea what they did with it.
Right, okay. Well, they may have done it then. Officially, if we sort of look at resources that can be actually historically relied upon, Galileo certainly did stuff with inflated pig's bladders to measure the weight of air.
Okay.
So he measured the weight of a pig's bladder, then he inflated a pig's bladder, measured it again. That gives you the weight of air.
Oh, right.
In Galileo's mind. So he kind of used balloons in that respect, however long ago Galileo was. So that's the first official record I could find. Then we sort of skip several hundred years. Problem is, there are lots of different types of balloons. So if we're looking at sort of rubber-inflated spherical objects that feel balloonish, similar to party balloons, that goes back to 1824 and Michael Faraday.
The Electric Man.
The Electric Man, him. He actually created something that was effectively a rubber balloon. He took 2 sheets of rubber, he glued the edges together, he inflated it with gas, and he did various experiments with different types of gases to see, how heavy or light they were, whether they would fall, rise, how quickly they would expand, etc. So him, definitely, in the rubber balloon area.
That's a good word to say. Just the bubba bit in the middle.
Rubber balloon. It's quite enjoyable, isn't it?
What about if you rub a rubber balloon?
Then you'd be a rubber balloon rubber.
Then you get static.
Yes, you would. Which is probably something that Faraday was quite interested in.
I think he probably was.
Because that kind of guy.
Yes.
But other balloons, hot air balloons, go back even longer ago than that, to 1783.
It shows the speed of human endeavour.
Yes.
That in 1785, 2 years later, there was a cross-channel attempt in a hot air balloon.
Yeah, only 2 years after the first flight.
Only 2 years. It was a Frenchman called Jean-Pierre Blanchard, who was financed by an American guy called Dr. John Jeffries. And they decided to go and see if they could cross the channel in a balloon.
Right.
And as they started off in a hot air balloon, they realised that they didn't quite have the amount of hot air that they needed to maintain height.
Right.
So they started to empty the contents of the balloon into the channel, about 2/3 of the way across. Oh, and also I should mention that Jean-Pierre Blanchard couldn't swim.
Oh, crikey. That's a bit of a risk, isn't it?
So although he was happy to go in the air, he couldn't actually swim. So when they landed, they were basically wearing their underpants and a life jacket each.
Oh, because they'd thrown all their clothes overboard to lighten the load.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was on January the 7th, 1785.
That is pretty quick then, isn't it? So in 1783, the Montgolfier brothers, they were experimenting with balloons and this sort of large bag that you inflate with hot air and therefore it rises. Their first test of this thing, well, they'd done a few tests. They'd sort of had a couple of tethered balloons. They'd tried this and tried that. The first live test subject to go in a hot air balloon was in the September of 1783, and they put a sheep, a duck, and a chicken into a wicker basket suspended from a balloon by ropes.
The sheep had a name.
Did it?
Yeah. It was called Mont au Ciel. Mont au Ciel means climb to the sky in French.
Oh, that's gorgeous. How lovely.
But Montgolfier was inspired by laundry.
Right.
He saw laundry drying over like fire and ash.
Yeah.
And he thought that what they were doing was they were emitting a special gas.
Oh, okay.
Which he called levity.
Levity.
Yes.
Levitate.
Yes. Or Montgolfier gas as well. Yeah, I mean, he thought, maybe I should name it after me.
Yeah, far better. Far better. So he thought that fires produced a particular gas rather than just heating up air.
Yes.
Right.
But they're notoriously unstable, these hot air balloons.
Yeah. You can't steer one, can you?
No, you have to kind of rely on the wind.
Yeah.
1785 was the first hot air balloon disaster in May.
Not the one that crossed the channel.
No, not the one that crossed the channel. This was another one. I think it was in Ireland. And it was in May 1785 in the town of Tullamore. Somebody was taking up their hot air balloon and it crashed into a village and burned down 100 houses.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Imagine putting that on the insurance claim. House damage due to hot air balloon failure.
Yes.
Crikey.
Yeah, they're quite something.
I've always been quite fascinated with hot air balloons, that because they can't steer, I've always wondered, do they know where they're going to land? Do they know how long they're going to be airborne? How well can they control? Are they just going to end up landing in some poor farmer's field? What happens if they overshoot a field? Do they just land in a town, etc.?
Yeah.
But they can not steer as such, but because the jets of fire heating up the air in the balloon make the balloon rise. There's also a vent in the top of the canopy of the balloon that you can briefly open to let some of that air out. So you can totally control the vertical axis of the balloon. And if you've done enough research, if you know what the weather's doing, if you know where the different airstreams are, you can go up a bit to catch an airstream that's going one way, or down a bit to catch one that's going the other way.
Yes.
I don't know how reliable that is. I've read that ballooners sort of take real interest in weather reports. They communicate local weather stations and things like that. Sometimes they let off a handful of small helium balloons into the air and just see where they go, so that they can spot, oh, well, there's a westerly bit up there, or there's an easterly bit down there. But yes, I've always thought that might be a bit precarious, that you're sort of beginning to run out of gas. You've suddenly caught a jet of air going the wrong way, and you're looking over the edge of the basket going, that was our field, guys. It's gone.
I once had, for quite some time, a voucher to go on a hot air ballooning experience.
Ooh.
And every time I rang them up, they said, oh, the weather's not right today.
Ah, yes.
And after about 2 years of, no, the weather's not right today,
I gave up. Oh. So have you ever been in a hot air balloon?
Never have I ever.
Ah. See, now I have. Only a tethered one, but still. I was on holiday in America, and this was a town called Branson in Missouri, and they had a tethered hot air balloon, which just went up and down within this sort of cage, metal cage.
Okay.
The whole ride took about 10 minutes. You went up, you went, ooh, nice view, and then it came down again with the chap telling you a bit of the history. And this particular balloon actually started off in Paris in the early 1900s as sort of a visitor attraction tethered to the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Can't remember how it ended up in Missouri, but so it did. And that's the hot air balloon that I've been in.
What was the basket made from?
Don't remember. I'm going to guess wicker.
Ah, yeah, because they're often made of woven rattan.
Oh, right, okay.
I pronounce it rattan. Do you pronounce it rattan or rattan?
I go in between. I go rattan. I pronounce both syllables.
Fair enough. And generally the floors are made of plywood.
Okay.
But there's one balloon that's got a glass floor.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, reinforced glass.
Nice.
And there are some older balloons have gondolas. They're called gondolas, the basket, by the way.
Are they?
Yeah.
Huh.
And they're made of aluminium, fiberglass, all sorts of different things.
Right, okay.
But traditionally, you would make it out of a picnic basket.
Yes, I sort of picture that. I picture, as a kid, I used to love this stop-motion animated series of Wind in the Willows. And there was an episode where Toad, on one of his fads, goes and buys a hot air balloon. And he's struggling to climb into it. And it's making this wonderful, creaky, picnic baskety noise as he gets into this balloon. That's exactly what I picture them being made of.
I mean, you mentioned going up and down to look at things. The military used hot air balloons as well in wartime.
Oh, for sort of map making and surveillance.
For observing the enemy.
Yeah.
So you'd send somebody. I mean, the Chinese used kites to send people up, but more modern thing was to put an observer with a pair of binoculars in a balloon, send them up because they're out of range.
Sure.
And do it that way.
Huh. The other type of balloon that is used in military terms, I say the other, there are probably several, barrage balloons.
Oh, yes.
I had a quick look at barrage balloons. And again, sort of from watching, classic old wartime movies, you see these blimp-like structures up in the sky, quite a lot of them. And I never really questioned what they were. I don't think I thought they were Zeppelins or anything like that, but they were barrage balloons. So this happened on both sides of the war. You have these huge balloons tethered by steel cables, and you send these things up to a certain height. They first came around in the First World War and went up to a height of about 15,000 feet.
Wow.
And you have all of these balloons dotted around the sky, and they all have these steel cables suspended from them some of the cables are interwoven into a net formation, and it just interrupts enemy aircraft. It either gets in the way so that they can't dive bomb at low level, or it forces them to go further up above the barrage balloons, which is a better range to shoot at them with your anti-aircraft artillery.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite surprised how big these things were, because we're only sort of seeing them on video footage, and they're quite a long way away. They look quite small.
Yeah.
But some of these balloons could reach about 64 feet in length.
Wow.
That's like 3 cricket pitches. So they're quite big, and they have these enormously heavy steel cables hanging off them. So if a plane were to crash into one of those, it would jolly well know about it.
There are a couple of Zeppelin hangars by Bedford Autodrome.
Yes, that's right. There are, aren't they?
And they are amazingly huge things.
Yeah. One of these hangars is so big that it has its own weather system. It actually has small clouds condensing in the roof of this hangar.
A bit like the thing in NASA that we talked about in our episode on NASA.
Yeah, excellent. But yes, by the time World War II came along, we had, in this country at least, we had 1,400 of these barrage balloons dotted around the country, a third of which were flying over London. So they tethered them in strategic places, key cities or industrial areas, ports, harbours, things that we didn't want the enemy to
fly over
to get a good shot at.
Yeah. Weren't there, I think in the First World War, the Germans sent over Zeppelins with bombs. And a lot of London was bombed by Zeppelin.
By Zeppelin, yeah. That's a balloon.
That's a balloon, kind of.
Interestingly, I recognised the fact that the cabin under a Zeppelin is called a gondola. I hadn't realised that would have applied to hot air balloons as well. Makes sense.
There you go. So we talked about the first hot air balloon going up in 1783.
Yep.
And of course, 2 years later, they're flying across the Channel.
It seems natural.
Which seems natural. But also, a few years later, they're deciding to use it for fighting duels.
Okay. I'm not familiar with this. Tell me more.
So by 1808, 2 gentlemen, one called de Grandpré and one called Le Pic, they fought a duel over Paris from balloons. And it was basically over a woman, of course, Mademoiselle Tirvy. And Le Pic lost because his balloon was shot and he died in the crash.
I was just about to say, unless the balloons are very close together and you can have a basket-to-basket sword fight, presumably we're talking about pistols here, was the idea just to shoot each other's balloon down?
Yes.
I know that firearms weren't incredibly accurate back then by comparison to today's standards, but a balloon is quite big, is it not? Surely that would be quite an eeasy thing to hit.
I'm not sure they started off that big. If you look at the Montgolfier brothers balloons, they weren't huge.
Weren't they?
No, not by the drawings. Obviously, with no photographs.
True, yeah, true.
But by the drawings, they didn't seem to be enormously large.
I suppose I picture these massive, colourful hot air balloons that you get these days with Virgin written all over them.
Yes.
They're whopping great things, aren't they?
They are huge. Talking of those Virgin balloons, there was one that broke the record, wasn't there? Do you remember back in 2012?
Yeah, we had the Olympics going on, didn't we?
We did, but there was a manned balloon flight.
Right.
A chap called Felix Baumgartner.
Good name.
Had a Virgin logo on the thing. He had a parachute with him because obviously as the balloons go up, the gas inside them expands and eventually they explode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
So he went up to a height of, I tell you what, why not? Have a guess.
Oh, crikey.
October 14th, 2012, gas balloon.
5,000 feet.
Tiny bit further.
10,000 feet.
Try kilometres.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, how far away is space? I don't know. 10 kilometres.
Further.
20.
Further.
30.
Tiny bit further.
Go on. Put me out of my misery.
Okay. 39.045 kilometres.
That's really high.
That is very, 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 very high.
By my maths, that's really high. That's on the edge of space, isn't it?
Yes, it pretty much is.
Crikey.
39 kilometres.
Wow. And he did
that was in a gas balloon.
Right. And he did that just for funsies, because he could.
But I think he did it because Richard Branson paid for him.
Yes, that's a good reason.
So moving on to the kind of balloons that Michael Faraday was making, the sort of the artificial manufactured,
yes, rubber
stroke
ones.
Latex stroke whatever they are made of type balloons.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're lovely.
They're fun, aren't they?
They are really nice.
I really hope that once Michael Faraday inflated his first balloon with some gas, I really hope that the first thing he did was sort of bounce it around on his head and play with it and see how long he could keep it off the floor and so on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, normally these days what they do is they fill those balloons to make them float.
Yes.
They fill them with helium.
Yes.
They started off with hydrogen, but obviously hydrogen's a bit more dangerous because it catches fire.
I can imagine that's probably not a good thing at
sets fire to villages.
Children's birthday party where there are cakes with candles involved.
That's true. But we're talking about people going up into the air in a balloon. There's a chap called Ian Ashpole, who is slightly odd, and he went 10,000 feet into the air,
right,
by having 600 35-inch helium balloons.
Wow!
And a parachute, because what happens, like I said, as you get higher, the gas expands.
Yes, and eventually it will pop.
And they all pop. and it basically, he said it sounded like a machine gun going off when like some of these 600 helium balloons started to burst, because all at the same time, all to the same pressure.
It's like the movie Up, isn't it? It's
exactly like Up, except with a person rather than a house. So he had a parachute. So when he got up to 10,000 feet and they all popped, he sort of popped off.
Wow. Well, what a brave / crazy fella.
I mean, there is a famous story of somebody going up. Do you remember the chap who went up using weather balloons?
I vaguely remember it. I couldn't tell you much in terms of detail.
So there was a famous American who went up into the air in a sort of a deck chair, and a whole load. Do you remember?
Yeah, that rings a bell.
And a whole load of helium weather balloons.
Yes. Attached
to his chair. He had 45 helium balloons attached to a lawn chair, and he just wanted to go up to 30 feet just to have a look at basically to get more sunlight.
Right.
Was his idea. Went a bit further than 30 feet. Went up to 3 miles.
Oh, good grief. Oh, that's a bit of an overshoot, isn't it? In
a lawn chair with 45 helium balloons. He had taken a gun with him, so the idea was that he would shoot.
Right. Okay.
Shoot the balloons slowly.
Yeah.
So that he could actually descend gradually. But he was so drunk.
Oh, good grief. Just gets better.
He basically fortified himself with beer to do the thing, and he couldn't get the gun to work. So he just kept on going up until they popped, and then he started to come down.
I mean, so long as they don't all pop at once, then that's kind of okay, I guess.
Yes. But yes, he survived that.
Good for him.
Apparently, a helium balloon needs to be bigger than 5 inches.
Does it?
Because the amount of helium you can get into a balloon that's less than 5 inches won't lift the latex off the ground.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But a 10-inch balloon is enough for about 6 hours.
Okay.
A 12-inch balloon can fly 12 hours. And actually, in cold weather, they last a lot longer.
Do they? Why is that?
It's because helium expands in heat.
Yes, okay.
And the molecules are quite small, so the molecules of helium actually escape through the skin of the balloon.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Whereas on a cold day, they don't expand so much.
Huh. I'll put a link to this video up on the wonderful website Factoraly.com.
Factoraly.com.
That's the one. There was a chap who was doing an experiment with a balloon to see if he could make it sort of stay in one position at height. So he had a helium-filled balloon with a piece of string on the end, and he just trimmed the string until the weight of the string was equal to the buoyancy of the balloon.
Uh-huh.
And therefore the balloon just stayed where it was. If he lifted it up and let go, it just stayed there. And then he used the static that you get when you put your hand near a balloon. And because the balloon was just free to drift, not going up or down, but it was attracted to the static on this fella's hand, he was just sort of guiding the balloon around as if he were using the force. It was quite a visual treat, so I'll post that up on the website.
That's fun to see, yeah, absolutely.
Do you know how many party balloons are sold each year?
I don't.
I couldn't find UK figures for some reason, don't know why. In the US, around 3 billion party balloons are sold each year.
When you say party balloons, you don't mean the ones with numbers on. You actually mean just ordinary, but
balloons in general, whether that's birthday balloons, helium-filled, just a pack of sad little rubber balloons that you have to blow up.
Yeah.
Novelty balloons, decorational balloons, those kind of things is what I'm talking about.
Goodness.
The global market for party balloons in 2021 was worth $1.5 billion. That's a lot of balloons.
That is a lot
sold, isn't it?
So Andrew Dahl, who's just an ordinary guy, American, he inflated 23 balloons with his nose in 3 minutes.
Gosh. That's...
Which is impressive.
It's odd.
Yes, very odd.
I'd be afraid of what else you were blowing into the balloon.
Yes. There's another chap from China called Jiang Shang who had learned how to inflate balloons with his ear.
How/why?
Well, ear, nose and throat is all connected, right?
Yeah.
So he just basically used his ear rather than his nose or his throat.
Or his mouth. I mean, it's not going to be the most efficient way of doing it, is it?
Nah, not really. There's a chap called Larry Moss, an American sculptor who sculpts in balloons.
Oh, right.
And he's made unique copies of paintings by Leonardo da Vinci, Botticelli.
Wow.
All using balloons. And he calls it origami.
Origami? That's great.
And he's also designed a collection of balloon clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
There's a lot of world records for balloon sculpting and things.
Yes, I would imagine. Yes, it seems like one of those topics, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, there's a chap who, John Cassidy, in 1999. John Cassidy broke the world record for sculpting balloon animals, creating 749 in 1 hour.
Oh, crikey. Wow. I mean, he could cheat by making every single one of them a caterpillar, i.e. just a blown-up oblong balloon.
Yes. This one's an eel, this one's a snake, this one's a caterpillar.
Fantastic.
Yeah. No, generally what's allowed as a balloon animal is something that looks like a dog.
Yes, that's quite typical, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I found a record on a similar line, the largest modelling balloon sculpture by an individual, not by a group, because that would be even bigger. This thing measures 21.91 metres. Wow. So quite big. This was achieved by David Baker in the US in 2015. And he created this sculpture of a bat hanging upside down, made out of modelling balloons.
They make quite big sculptures as well out of them. I mean, I've seen full-size dinosaurs.
Yes, I've seen those as well. Yeah.
Made out of balloons.
Yeah. That's quite impressive. People do have some spare time on their hands, don't they?
They do, don't they? So we've talked about balloons on Earth, but balloons are used in space as well, or not just in space, on other planets.
Are they?
So in the Russian space probes, Vega 1 and Vega 2, used helium balloons to drop scientific instruments into the atmosphere of Venus in 1985.
Gosh.
So they've been going up for a while.
Right. I'd never really thought of that. I suppose once the floatiness... Gosh, that's not a very scientific word, is it? Once the floatiness of the balloon gets you up as far as the atmosphere, then the weightlessness of space will take you the rest of the way. That's probably quite a fuel-efficient way of doing it, I suppose. That's true.
That's true. I'm talking of science. Medical science as well uses balloons.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had a relative or somebody that you know who's had some sort of artery problem.
No.
So they do a thing called ballooning or angioplasty.
Okay.
Which is basically, you can do it two ways. You can either just put a balloon in and then open up the artery to sort of, if it's got a bit clogged,
yes,
kind of put a balloon in and that sort of opens it up a bit.
Right.
Or you can attach a stent to a balloon, like a very skinny balloon, and you basically put it in, then blow up the balloon, and the stent expands to increase the volume of the artery.
I see. And then they withdraw the balloon?
Yes, then they withdraw the balloon, leaving the stent in place.
How clever.
Very, very clever stuff. Well, I'm feeling a bit deflated now because I've run out of things to say.
Yeah, me too. I've got no more ballooning facts.
So we need to tell people 3 things. You're probably at a point now where you're going, I've given you a 5-star review. I've told the world that you've got a good podcast. I don't need to do it again. Yes, you do. You need to do it every single time for every single podcast. Just give us a 5-star review. Say, this is the best podcast I've heard since the last podcast these guys did.
Absolutely. Every new person you meet, every dinner party you go to, every person you bump into at the train station, just mention it.
Oh, yes, please.
You would be most welcome to subscribe to this podcast on your player of choice so you never miss a single one.
We have a Facebook page. If you search on Facebook for Factoraly, you'll find us there.
Get in touch with us and tell us how much you loved it / what we got wrong.
Yes.
If we did get anything wrong, we're perfectly willing to be corrected.
We love it.
So that is it. Thank you so much for listening to another fun-filled episode of
Factoraly.
Please come again next time.
Do please.
Bye-bye.
Au revoir.